IVM.
News Kids on the Block. We bring to you stories that top the nation's papers, fresh from the IVM and Ascend International School Desk. Hi, I'm Kavya.
And I'm Trivik. You were probably wondering, where's the I'm Anya? Well, Anya is unable to be with us at this moment as she is currently preoccupied with exams. It's sometimes, considering how good we are at our jobs, it can be hard to remember it's News Kids on the Block, but we wish Anya the best of luck on her exams. Even Kavya is currently going through exams. Kavya?
Yeah,
Stressful.
I am very. But we shall get started with the first story of the day, which is about a new baby berth being introduced in Indian Railways. It's basically a berth that would be beneficial to women passengers and parents that are traveling with their toddlers and their young children. And it basically it's a lower booth that has a little like kiddie baby booth attached to the side of it. I think it's great that these measures have been taken to make the travel journey of passengers easier and more convenient. However, if you do look at the actual picture of the design, there are some design concerns about this berth. Firstly, it is on the outside of the actual big berth. So it's like a child should generally be inside so that even if they roll around and move around, the chance of them falling is very minimal. That is one design flaw. And the second one is that if you actually look at the stopper that they've put to prevent the child from falling, it's not very big. So it doesn't occupy a lot of the berth. So it's still easy for toddlers and young children to fall. And I think when you look at it, it's made more for toddlers than for like babies, because a baby will not be able to sleep there without falling off or without having the chance of falling off. So I think while it's great that these measures are being taken to make things more convenient, there are some design flaws with this specific berth.
And with that, we will take you to our second story of the day. This story is coming out of Shanghai, where, as some of you might know, China have set some really strict rules surrounding the COVID pandemic. These new rules have been considered unsustainable by the World Health Organization chief, as he said, and I quote, "We don't think it's sustainable considering the behavior of the virus now, and we anticipate in the future that adding a shift would be very important." And the World Health Organization Director General has called on China to rethink this zero COVID strategy, saying the approach no longer makes sense as the Omicron variant spreads throughout populations as the country's economy suffers. And they said that we don't think it's sustainable considering the behavior of the virus now and what we anticipate in the future. And these comments mark a rare instance of the World Health Organization challenging a member state's domestic COVID policies. Early in the pandemic, he faced criticism that he was too differential to China, where the virus first emerged. And President Xi Jinping has clung to China's tough COVID strategy, tightening pandemic restrictions in Shanghai and expanding a mass testing sweep in Beijing. Officials are chasing the elusive goal of wiping out COVID-19 cases in the community, despite a growing cost to the economy and as much of the rest of the world opens up. And with that, we will take a quick break before coming back to you with a story on unscientific tree planting.
Habits? Routines? How exactly do they help us get better? Well, to simplify it for you, tune in to the Habit Coach podcast. I am Ashton Doctor and I'm going to be here to help you get better daily with some simple, easy to do habits that you can easily adapt to your life. So tune in to the Habit Coach podcast from Monday to Friday, because I believe that awesome lives start with awesome habits.
Welcome back. You're listening to News Kids on the Block. I am Kavya, your co-host for today, and I will take us into the next story, which, like Trivik said, is about unscientific tree plantation in the region of Himachal, Pradesh. So what exactly this means is that for every dollar that goes into tree plantation programs in Himachal Pradesh, at least half of that is wasted. And this is due to the fact that the wrong types of trees are being planted in the wrong places. Researchers say that for India to achieve their climate goals through forest restoration, substantial changes in the design and implementation of these programs are needed. I quote Forrest Fleischman, who is author the Department of Forest Resources in the University of Minnesota. Many of the tree plantings we studied in this paper in Himachal are poorly designed for meeting India's climate mitigation goals. Our analysis also indicates that in Himachal, the forest department is not able to locate favorable sites for tree planting. While there may be a number of reasons for this, one important reason may simply be that the land isn't currently forested and it's not suitable for the kinds of forest restoration that is envisioned when large-scale tree plantation programs are designed. Put in other words, there may not be space in Himachal Pradesh for all the trees that the government wants to plant there. So I think while it is important to keep planting trees there, because obviously it is a big step in doing good for the environment, it's also important to take into account that too much may not be good, because the quality also matters, not just the quantity. So I think that's something that is not thought about, but is pretty important as well. I'll hand it over to Trivik for a football story.
Our next story for you today is coming straight from Manchester, as the streets are telling me Manchester City have agreed a deal in principle to sign Erling Haaland. And this is big news for football fans everywhere. As you know, Erling is one of the biggest prospects in football right now. He's right up there with Kylian Mbappe and Manchester City's very own Phil Foden, in my personal opinion. They are the future of football, and Manchester City have been crying out for a striker practically all season. It has become more than evident now following their knockout from the Champions League in the semi-finals, where they were set to face Liverpool in the final. But due to an unfortunate 3 goals in the dying minutes of the game, they were knocked out of the competition, and in a game which arguably will go down as a game for the ages. I think this has made 2 things clear. I think it has shown that City have immense quality. The fact that they are doing so well in the league now, even after being hammered so many times, after they've showed mental resilience to overcome that CL loss, because we all know the one they're really chasing at this point, the last one they need to finish their puzzle of success. It is that Champions League trophy. And I think Erling Haaland will be the final piece of the puzzle.
Thanks, Trivik. With that, we shall take a short break and we'll be right back on New Kids on the Block.
Hey, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On IVM, like Snehal, Antriksh and Abbas give us a Star Wars special. Tune in if you'd like the Force to be with you. On Cyrus Says His Cock and Bull, Cyrus is joined by Shreya, Sriram and Antriksh. They discuss the heat wave and electricity outages due to the coal shortage in India. On The Longest Constitution, Priya looks into constitutional provisions that govern an MP or MLA's accountability. On Smarter with Sid, Siddharth sheds light on the creator economy and how influencers make money. And on Postcards from Nowhere, Utsav links taboo foods, Hindu epics, and dharma in an interesting tale. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're following this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Word of mouth is one of our biggest, most helpful things you could do for us. We'd really appreciate that. And also, don't forget to rate us on any of the platforms you're listening on. And you can also check us out on YouTube. Go check out ivmpodcast.com/YouTube. You get a list of all of our YouTube channels there. We're also doing a small listener survey to better understand how you respond to our shows and the advertising on the network. We would really appreciate it if you could spare a few minutes to fill it out. It's at ivmpodcast.com/survey. This really helps us build better shows for you. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors for this week, SBI Life Insurance, India Water Portal, and Jupiter, a digital banking app.
Welcome back to News Kids on the Block. I'm your co-host, Trivik Hariharan, and we are back for our last 2 stories of the day. Our first one, Kavya, let's talk about portable devices, shall we? Love those, porting and devising. Why not? My favorite 2 things about those things.
Thanks, Trivik. So this story is about a portable device that can turn salt water into drinking water at the push of a button, potentially. As we all know, there is a lot of water in this world, more than 326 million trillion gallons of water on Earth, but less than 3% of that is fresh water. And out of that 3%, 2/3 is locked up in things like glaciers and icebergs and underwater. So at the end of it, only 0.5% of the Earth's water actually is consumable. But MIT researchers have developed a portable, user-friendly device that can turn salt water into drinking water with a button's push. For now, the prototype fits into a normal suitcase, and it can process 1 liter per hour. But when the product is fully developed, at the end of it, it will be able to filter 10 times that amount. And I think this will be really important for people who live in more remote islands and for places like refugee camps that are near the water, and for everybody in general. And the reason this is such a sustainable device as well is because it needs less power to operate than a cell phone charger, and because it's operated by a small solar panel that is attached to the exterior. And it also works without ever needing a replacement for the filter, because there isn't any filter. Electric fields are used to remove particles from the water. And not only salt particles, but also bacteria and virus that may exist there. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, because at the end of the day, what happens when that 0.5% runs out? Because, humans need water to live, and every other species needs water to live. So what happens? So I think these kinds of devices that can maximize the use of water that we have in this world are really important for the human race to continue to thrive. And I can't wait to see what this device will look like in a few years, maybe when it's been fully developed, and the extent of what it can do.
Our last story for you today is coming straight from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as the much-awaited Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness has taken to theaters worldwide. And my God, I have to say, this is definitely on my view list because there's been a lot of hype building up to this movie. I've not been able to catch it myself because I've been preoccupied with exams and summatives. But finally, we've got some time, and definitely have to say what I've seen from the trailers, some of the reviews I've heard, without giving any spoilers away. It is filled with action. It is short. It is to the point. And there are some seriously good cameos, which I'm not going to spoil who, but trust me, you guys won't want to miss it.
Anyways, that's all we have for you today. We hope you enjoyed this episode of News Kids on the Block. Don't forget to tune in to us every Friday for our fresh take on the news from across the globe.
You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on our social media. We are at IVM Podcast on Twitter and Instagram.
We'll see you next week. But till then, do share this episode with your folks. Stay safe. And don't forget to do your homework.
There's a quick survey to fill out on ivmpodcast.com/survey. It lets us know a little bit more about who's listening to us. And you know what? We're going to do a few prizes. So, we'll do a random drawing of maybe 10 people and we'll send you all some swag. Remember, that's ivmpodcast.com/survey where you can fill out the survey.
We face 100 dilemmas every day while raising our children and nurturing our families. Why not let science help us make informed decisions to solve our dilemmas? Hi, I'm Devi Shobha.
And I'm Meghna. We host Big Talk About Tiny Humans, where we will help you unpack challenges around parenting and your child's development.
And more importantly, we will equip you with research-backed strategies that you can readily act on.
Tune in to our podcast every Wednesday on the IVM Podcasts app, website, or your favorite podcast platforms.